Arsenal are in a tough situation. In the last game, our defence seemed vulnerable for the first time this season. And I need some help trying to decipher what's happening because I don't know. Is it just for one game or can we expect this going forward? And who do we play there? We got so many options in that left-back position that I don't know who we start for the next game. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on it, so let me know. Who do you start in the next game? Do you stay with Kiwior? Do you go Zinchenko? Or do you go with Tomoyasu? We're going to discuss all the potential options, and I'll give you my opinion on it. Because, look, Kiwior struggled in that last game for sure. He's been so good the few times that we've seen him this season. But was it a bit premature to throw him in straight into that Bayern Munich game? This is probably one of Arsenal's biggest game in the last 10 years. And Arsenal are throwing him straight in against Bayern Munich. Was he ready for that challenge? I mean, if you're basing it on his performances that we've seen the last few games, then you would probably say, yeah, because he's looked solid. A lot of us were comfortable going into this game with Kiwior being played in that position. Was that a mistake? Or was it just Kiwior had a bad game, that's the end of it, we put him straight back in the team for the next game, and then we don't worry about it? Let me know what you think, because, look, do I play Kiwior against Aston Villa? Probably not. Like I said, I like the guy. I think he's a good player. He's done well for us. But there comes a time where you have to understand that Kiwior isn't a left-back. He was brought in as a centre-back. Now, we know positions can change under Mikel Arteta. Ben White was brought in as a centre-back, but we got William Saliba back from loan, and Mikel Arteta had a look at him and thought, well, I can't take this guy out of the team. So Ben White was moved to the right back, and we haven't looked back since. I got kind of the same vibe with Kiwior when that happened. He was brought in as a sort of a left centre-back behind Gabriel, but injuries forced us to have to use him in that left-back position. So we used him in left-back, and he was a revelation. He come on against Liverpool when he looked brilliant. Since then, we haven't looked back. But let's not forget how good Zinchenko was last season. So do we just discount Zinchenko now for the rest of the season? Because, if Kiwior wasn't playing in this game, I would have gone for Tomoyasu. I said I would have started Tomoyasu in this game. Now, I'm not trying to question Mikel Arteta. He's way more intelligent than I will ever be at football. But just going into this game, I looked at it and thought, Bayern Munich have got some tricky wingers. Our best one-on-one defender in them wide areas is Tomoyasu. So just put one-on-one together. I ended up with Tomoyasu. And we usually get away with it. But going forward, I don't know what we can do. I thought for sure we would have seen Tomoyasu at some point. I've almost forgot how good Tomoyasu was before he went to the Asia Cup. He was so important in this Arsenal team. The performances he was putting on, if you remember, he was kind of playing left back and he was doing that Zinchenko role. He was actually inverting and he was looking very good on the ball technically. And we know what he offers in terms of them defensive actions as well. So I for sure thought in some of these big games we've been playing, Tomoyasu would have been a shoo-in. Tomoyasu would definitely have got some minutes, but we haven't seen it yet. Now, is that Mikel Arteta's lost faith in this player? I don't think so. Tomoyasu has been spoken about recently by Mikel Arteta, and he says how much he appreciates the player. But is he still carrying something? He can't be, because he's played that behind closed doors friendly. He's come on and made a substitute appearance, but I just don't get why he wasn't played in that game. Was it because the way that Bayern Munich set up defensively, they was kind of in a rigid 4-4-2 almost, and they kind of left our left back free. They kind of saw him as the weak link, and they would prefer Kiwior to have the ball than kind of a Jorginho, Rice and Odegaard, who was dropping deep at times to receive that ball in a Bayern Munich game. So they left Kiwior free. Now, that's the only reason I can think that maybe that's why Arteta brought on Zinchenko, because he saw that Kiwior was the free man most of the time. And maybe he's thought, listen, if I bring Zinchenko on, who has that technical ability with the ball, and they're leaving Zinchenko free, we can have success going in the second half, progressing the ball forward. That's all I can think of, because, Sane was cooking Kiwior at times. So to bring Zinchenko on, who's, let's be honest, probably worse defensively than Jakub Kiwior, that was definitely a surprise for me. Now, I think he got away with it in the end. We didn't really get caught out too many times. I think, like I said, Zinchenko did lose the ball, but we didn't get punished like we did in the first half. And actually, Zinchenko actually done fairly good at overloading that midfield. But I just don't know what we're going to do with that defensive position. I can't wait for Yurien Timber to return to this squad, because I think he is the long-term option. I think Yurien Timber was brought in to play that role. He offers what Zinchenko offers in terms of being able to go into the middle of the park and being technical enough to play with the ball. But he's also so strong defensively as well. But, you have to question whether a player who's picked up such a massive, almost career-ending injury, if they will come back the same player. Timber has been not reliant, but it's been an asset of his to have that burst of pace, that recovery pace needed that every good defender needs. And he's definitely had that. But will he still carry that pace over after an injury? We know what that kind of injury can do to a player. And I'm just hoping he doesn't lose that bit of pace. I'm hoping we can see him this season. I'm not sure whether you can play him in any of our massive games. We do have some big games coming up. It would probably be a struggle to get him ready for any of them. Mikel Arteta has said he's hopeful that he can get Yurien Timber back at some point this season. But, you have to question when that will be, because it's not going to be for the Bayern game. And then after that, you've got Chelsea, you've got Wolves first, then you've got Chelsea. You've obviously got Villa this weekend, which he's not going to make. And then the second from last game, you've got Man United. Look, it would be brilliant to have him for that game, but that's away from home. We're probably going to be going into that game needing a win. But so then do you risk Yurien Timber? And if not, then where does he play? Because all of our games this season are massive. Mikel Arteta said he would like to see him play. Hopefully, what I'm hoping is we beat Aston Villa this weekend, go away to Bayern Munich, obviously win. But after that, we have got Wolves away. I would like to see Yurien Timber brought on as a substitute in that Wolves game. Because if he can get 20 or 30 minutes, then I think that would give him some minutes in his legs to try and get some minutes in that Man United game, or if not, maybe the Everton game. But I just don't know what we're going to do with that left-back position. I think there's other things we need to worry about as well in terms of midfield. The midfield against Bayern Munich didn't work in that game. Will he switch it up for this Aston Villa game? I think he probably has to. Jorginho played 90 minutes against Brighton as well. He played a lot of the game against Bayern Munich. Will he start against Aston Villa? We saw Yurien Timber come on against Bayern Munich, and maybe that will be the option for the Aston Villa game. And I don't think that's a bad idea. Because if you do play Thomas Partey, say you start him against Aston Villa, and he actually plays well, you can probably take him off at 70 minutes. Say he plays 70 minutes exceptionally well, looks like the Thomas Partey of last year, then you've got your starting centre mid for the game against Bayern Munich away, because he does offer that defensive solidity. Now, the only thing I would worry about with not playing Jorginho away in Munich is you're losing that experience that Jorginho offers. Jorginho has been there with Chelsea. He's won the trophies. He is a leader. You see him talking on the pitch. He knows everything. He is like the second manager on the pitch at times because he's got so much knowledge, and you would be losing that if you played Thomas Partey. So I think in terms of ability, maybe Thomas Partey would be better if you can get him back to the kind of form that he was displaying last season. But then you are losing that with Jorginho. So that's, what would you guys do? Who do you play at left back? It's the same question we've had for a few games now, but they're still not trouble positions, but they're still positions that I think not one person has been able to actually lock down and make their own. It would seem like Jorginho is the favourite. But the game against Bayern Munich, I don't think we can judge him purely on that, because I don't think anyone really excelled in that game. I don't think anyone was fantastic. But I do think it maybe just leaves the door open for a Thomas Partey to play some minutes against Aston Villa, and maybe, just maybe, wiggle his way into that position for the game against Bayern. But let me know what you would do. If I had to pick right now, I would still go tomoyasu in left back. And the centre mid one, I don't know, because I did say I would start Thomas Partey in the home leg. I think Thomas Partey would have been the better option, but away at Munich, Champions League, you need to get the result. I would understand why you would play Jorginho, but I would like to probably see, if you are going to play Jorginho, I would probably play Declan Rice in the 6, because we need to get him involved in the game more. In that game against Munich, he was isolated at times. Declan Rice didn't have his best game. He was playing in the 8. I thought the left winger was isolated and the left 8 was isolated as well. I think if we can drop Declan Rice back to that number 6 position, let him dictate the play, let him pick up the ball from deep and then start the attacks, progress with the ball. We know how good Declan Rice is at running with the ball. If we can get Declan Rice on the ball in that Bayern Munich game, then that would be brilliant. But do you need to rest Declan Rice this weekend against Aston Villa? He got rest, I think, who was it in the Brighton game? He didn't start. So he has had some rest. So I think you can get away with playing Declan Rice against Villa and Bayern Munich, and you'll probably need to. I don't think we can take our eye off the Premier League just because we got a big game coming up in the Champions League. Let me know what you think on that, but I think we still have to be playing our strongest team. Now, it's difficult because players will pick up injuries. They're going to struggle playing, basically 3 times in a week, 2 or 3 times in a week. Saka, we saw him struggling. Well, not struggling, but he looked like he was obviously upset at the end of the game against Bayern. But maybe that he was hobbling as well. Saka seems the last few games he's kind of got that hobble. He's left the pitch with a hobble. and that's not good. But we don't have too many other options. You know, Reece Nelson, in my opinion, isn't good enough to play that position in these big games against Aston Villa, Bayern Munich. I think Gabriel Jesus covered himself in roses in his last performance in the Champions League. Maybe you can do that. Maybe you go into the Aston Villa game and play. If I had to pick my front three, I would probably go in the Aston Villa game, Trossard, Havertz and Gabriel Jesus on the right, just because I think we need Saka at 100% for that Bayern Munich game. It's so important. We need a fresh Saka. We saw what he can do 12 minutes in that game against Bayern Munich, and that's exactly what we're going to need next week at the Allianz. You know, Martinelli, I think we need Martinelli at the Allianz. Now, I actually think on form, Trossard's playing way better than Martinelli is. Trossard's our second best player in terms of output, in terms of goals. You know, he's our highest scorer from open play, most goals per minute in the team. Trossard is on fire. But I think with Martinelli, he offers you that outlet. I don't think we're going to have it all our way at the Allianz. I think at times the pressure will be on Arsenal. We're going to have to sit deep and try and counter-attack them at some times. I don't think they're going to dominate the whole game. I think there will be passages of play where Arsenal do have control of the ball. But at times, when Bayern Munich are trying to strangle us, I think having Gabriel Martinelli as that outlet will be a good option. That's why I probably rest him. Well, not rest him, but, you know, you're bringing in Trossard, like I said, who is on form. I would start Trossard, Havertz, because I think he played underrated in that. I think his performance against Bayern Munich was underrated. I actually think he had a good performance. He was involved in the Saka goal. He was involved in the Ben White chance. Good defensive actions, held up the ball well. So I go Trossard, Havertz and Gabriel Jesus. But let me know your thoughts. What do you do in the game against Aston Villa? Who do you play left back, centre back and on the wings? And against Bayern Munich as well. Who do you play left back, centre mid and on the wings? Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Before you go, if you could just do me the favour and giving me a thumbs up on this video. Just like it and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.